If you have a phone or a device that might ring, if you could set it to off. Adonai madam vatedaehu ben enosh vatachashvehu ben enosh vatachashvehu Adam lahevel Dama Yamav Ketzel over Baboker Yatzitz Vechalav Laerev Yimolel Veyavesh Tashev Adaka Vatomer Shuvu B'nei Adam. Adonai, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, "Return, O mortal creatures." Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright, for they shall have peace. We are assembled with our friends in the darkness that has fallen upon us. We raise our voices together to the source of strength, asking for comfort and strength. We need light when gloom darkens our lives. We need fortitude and courage when pain and loss assail us. May we find these in God, who preserves from destruction all that is good. Let us find them too in loved ones and companions who do God's work by binding up the wounds of the stricken. For who among us has not passed through trials and bereavements? Some bear fresh wounds in their hearts and therefore feel more keenly the kinship of sorrow. Others whose days of mourning are more remote still recall the comfort that sympathy brought to their sorrowing hearts. May our sharing of sorrow and our deeds of solace bring comfort to the loved ones of Robert Shuman, Bob, Bobby, Zalman ben Henoch ve'Esther. I begin with a poem that I often end with, but seems to also relate to all that I've been told. It's called What is Life? Life is a challenge. Meet it. Life is a gift. Accept it. Life is an adventure. Dare it. Life is a sorrow. Overcome it. Life is a tragedy. Face it. Life is a duty. Perform it. Life is a game. Play it. Life is a mystery. Unfold it. Life is a song. Sing it. Life is an opportunity. Take it. Life is a journey. Complete it. Life is a promise. Fulfill it. Life is a beauty. Praise it. Life is a struggle. Fight it. Life is a goal. Achieve it. Life is a puzzle. Solve it. Life is love. love it. And from our own scriptures, Psalm 15, a psalm of David. Do we deserve to enter God's sanctuary? Can we merit a place in the presence of God? Live with integrity. Do what is right. Speak the truth without deceit. Have no slander upon your tongue. Do no evil to others. Do not mistreat your neighbor, nor spurn a contemptible person, but honor those who revere Adonai. Never retract a promise once made, though it may bring you harm. Lend no money at unfair rates. Accept no bribe against the innocent. Make these deeds your own. Then shall you stand firm forever. There are so many readings that sound like Bob, but I think of his gardening talents as I read this one. This is my prayer. This is my prayer to you, my God. Let not my spirit wither and shrivel in its thirst for you and lose the dew with which you sprinkled it when I was young. May my heart be open to every broken soul, to orphaned life, to every stumbler wandering unknown and groping in the shadow. Bless my eyes. Purify me to see humanity's beauty rise in the world and the glory of my people in its redeemed land, spreading its fragrance over all the earth. Deepen and broaden my senses to absorb a fresh, green, flowering world, to take from it the secret of blossoming in silence. Grant strength to yield fine fruits, quintessence of my life, steeped in my very being, without expectation of reward. And when my time comes, let me slip into the night, demanding nothing, God, of humanity or of you. Psalm 23. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echzor, bino desher yarbitzeni, al me menuchot yanachaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni v'magle tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech Begetz al mavet, lo irara, ki ata imadi, shivtecha umi shantecha, Shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai, dishanta vashemen roshi, dishanta vashemen roshi, dishanta vashemen roshi, Kosi revaya, ach tov, Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti beveit Adonai v'shavti beveit Adonai leorech yamim. A Psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. Adonai restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So in amongst the sadness of the day and the readings, there's also the words that we have. The words describe this person who has been such a rock for so many. As I said, I didn't know him, but I know the family. And just as I've seen all of you during this time, I feel myself refilled with your warmth and your kindness and your care for humanity and your love of life. So I'll tell you a few highlights that stuck in my mind, and then others will speak too. And I'm sure you know lots of these things. The first thing is, family told me that he once wanted to become a rabbi. He probably made a better choice. But the fact that you could tell that he was a man of deep, deep faith. And how do I know that? He was a Red Sox fan. Because all of us who have followed the Red Sox for all those years know there's some good years and there's some bad years. And there's some good players and there's some not so good players. And yet we stick with them. And so anyone who is a Red Sox fan to me is a very religious person. So if you're a Red Sox fan and you don't consider yourself religious, Bob taught us differently. Chocolate ice cream, another reason he was a mensch. Kind and caring and talk to everyone. I have boating and camp. And most important, family. Most important, family. And it's not like family was so easy all the time either. And so, again, a deeply faithful, religious person. Now, that doesn't make you, just because you have faith and just because you're a nice person and just because you're a mensch, doesn't necessarily make you religious. However, it kind of does. It kind of does. But he also went to shul. And he also was relatively active in Chabad, right, in Florida. You know what? He wanted to make a minyan. He wanted to make sure the community had what they needed. Community is something that I think about with this family. This family is so dedicated to family and community, so it is not surprising to me that he was the person that he is. I can't say enough about your family, and so I'm sure that you can't say enough about Bobby and about Bob. So I will stop only because my impressions are only impressions. But I'd first like to invite Barbara, Peter's wife. Peter is Bobby's son. You all know this better than I do. So I'd like to invite Barbara forward to share some thoughts. So if you just speak into the microphone, that works very well.
Totally unprepared. I didn't know I was put in for this. But my husband knew I would be okay with it. Popsy. Always, always, always known as Popsy to me. Popsy was here. Popsy was not at times, but he was Popsy. Whether he was here, he was not here. We know he loved us. Did he call us on our birthdays? Probably not. Probably not a card, but we know he loved us. He was there if we needed him. Popsy gave me my husband and my children and all the grandchildren that I claim, whether they're mine or not. They're mine because why? Because I was here to serve for Popsy's daughter, Esther. I was here and I will always be here, as we will be family, whether we're Jewish, Christian, Baptist, no matter. I'm Baptist. I don't practice. I know God's up there, and I know when I come to my day, he'll be here for me. He, she, whoever he really is, he'll be here. We have all family here. Family is family, no matter at what extent they were family. Popsy knew me if I called. Were we super duper close? Not until the past 3 years. I tried my darndest to bring family together. Grandkids knew Popsy. My baby Rosie knows Popsy as Popsy. Did we always go out on the boat with Popsy? No, I met my husband just barely at the end of the boating era. We went in the service, but we knew Popsy as Popsy. Wonderful person, absolutely wonderful, loving person. I held his hand several times over the last couple of weeks and told him how much the grandkids loved him, how much the great-grandkids loved him. As Rosie ran around his bed making noise, and I tried shooing her out, but she loved him. She knew him as Popsy. I don't know a lot to say other than he was there for us if we needed him, always. There.
I'd like to invite Risha forward. You can pick your, actually probably this one's better. This is smaller. Yeah, and you're taller than me. There you go.
I also did not come prepared, but I had to get up here and tell you about my brother Bob. We miss him already. He's deep in our hearts and heavy in our hearts, but as I hate to point out my blouse, it's brightly colored. It's brightly colored, but that's because Bob would always say, life is life, and we have to go along with the bad parts as well as the good. So normally I wear something bright for Bobby. He and I got along so well, especially when he moved into my house from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and my husband and I taught him like family. I mean, we were like family, the three of us. And there came a time where my husband got really sick and he passed away. And Bobby was there for me. He was so close to me. He didn't take the place of my husband, but he certainly was a wonderful, close brother. After Carl passed away, we decided to look for a house for him, his own house, and he was excited. We did find a house that was 17 houses away from mine, and although I said it was 17 houses, he kept saying, no, it's 18 houses. Well, it depended on which side of the street we were counting houses. And he stayed with me longer, and finally one day he said, Risha, are you ready to go out on your own? Can you handle it? And I said, yes, I'll be fine. So he moved into his own house, and we were so close after that. We'd go bicycle riding, and we would go for ice cream, chocolate. At least that's what he had. And we rode our bicycles all over the community, and he and I were like two buddies, really. We were together every day. He would come over for dinner several times a week, and it was incredibly, in my heart, I just felt so good. And it took the deep, deep pain I had for Carl, and it turned it into a love for him, a different kind of love, but it was incredible. And we got along for like almost 6 years before he became ill. And then Gayla took over, and he just kept going downhill steadily. But he was so kind, so gentle, so sweet, and just a wonderful, wonderful person to spend time with. And it took the real edge off of missing my Carl. And he was good to me till the day that he passed on. And I love him still very, very much. Along with my sister, Eileen, we cared for him, we loved him. But the true shining light was Gayla when she stepped in to take care of her dad. And she monitored him carefully, and she was so loving. And this is a hard day for her as well as for all of us here in this room. Thank you very much for listening to my ramblings, but I just miss him so. Thank you.
Rabbi Wolanski visited Bob quite often and became pretty close to him. And so the family and I want to welcome him here into the with us, and also I invite him forward to share some thoughts and readings.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Brunt, for giving me this opportunity, as well as the family. I'd like to start off today with this first psalm in the book of Psalms. There's 150 psalms. I like to start off with the first one. First, I'll read the Hebrew, then the English. Ashrei ha'ish asher lehoilach ba'atas rishayim v'derech hatoyim lo yamad u'moishav leitzim lo yoshav ki im b'seres ha'neichev v'seres ha'yege yama v'layla v'hoyike shas l'aplogi mayim asher priyu yitim itay v'alei lo yuipav chlasha yase yasliach lo yichein ha'rishayim ki im komatz asher tivne ruach al kein lo yukumu rishayim b'mishbod v'chatoyim ba'adas Tzadikim ki yedei adinoi derech tzadikim derech rishayim toyeved. Happy is the one who has not followed in the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the path of sinners, nor sat in the company of the scornful. Rather, the one delight is Torah of the Lord, meditating on Torah day and night, and will be like a tree planted by streams of water, that yields its fruit in the seasons, whose leaf will not wither. Wherever the one does prosper, not so the wicked, who will like a shafu of wind drives away. Therefore the wicked shall not survive judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteousness. For the Lord loves the way of the righteousness, but the way of the wicked is doomed. The first psalm speaks about a very, very special man, a happy man who followed in the path of God. And this is Bob. This is Rab Zalman. To many of us, he's like, we call it in Hebrew, in Yiddish, mishpacha, family. For all his friends were so close and so knit to him. I first met the Shuman family. I think Aline was the first one. Around 36 years ago, when I first came to Portland, there was really no computers. Computers were just started. There was no desktop publishing. Who was there? Aline. I think you made my first flyer. I still have it today. Thank you very much. The check is still in the mail. The next, I knew Rishi. I think you live 55, right? You still live 55? Yeah. Detroit, yeah. Didn't move. You weren't like your brother. Rishi also with Carl. We knew for many, many years. Then I knew with Charlie. Now, I met your father Bob when he worked in the parts department in Charlie's in the lower level. And after a snowstorm, we say in Yiddish, there's a lot of schmutz on the floor, a lot of ice, snow, dirty snow. And if you spritz, the water sink is not working on your car and your windshield wipers, you don't see where you're going. I was driving by Charlie's Motors, and the spritz wasn't working, or my windshield wipers wasn't working. So I pull up, and I ask, Bob, I need some help up here. I can't drive, and the spritz and the windshield wipers are stuck. I don't know what's going on. So don't worry. He put me the head of the line, and a little while later, everything was working. I was able to drive back to Portland. Also, the check is still in the mail. One day, I got a very exciting call from a dear colleague of mine, Rabbi Weg, from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's so excited. A new man moved into his town. His name is Bob Shuman. Do I know him? I said, sure I do. And he started to come to his classes, the JLI classes. He started to come to a minyan, and he became a millionaire. He became the minyan man. He constantly went to his minyan, loyal to him, and he felt bad when he left Tulsa, Oklahoma. Matter of fact, when he left Tulsa, he took one of his books, his review books with him, his study books. In your house, Gayla's house, the books were there, what he studied in Oklahoma, on the front end. So we see how special he is. Wherever Bob moved or went, everybody loved him because he loved them. And he was a real mensch. Everybody loved him. Wherever he went, people connected with him. His charisma, everybody wanted to be with him. And his family also, his smile, pasted on his face. Always his beautiful smile. He made everybody feel so important that everybody was important to him. At least he made you feel that way, and you always wanted to go back. It says our Avos, our patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they loved the outdoors. They were all farmers. Abraham had many sheep, many cattle he had, and Isaac, the ones that build the wells. He built wells so the animals and the plants and the trees will have water to water them. And Jacob had many. He was a farmer as well, the house of Laban, for many, many, many years. So we see our patriarchs also loved the outdoors. That's like Bob loved the outdoors. But I'm not sure 4,000 years ago they had bikes. But Bob loved his bikes. Over the years, I don't know what the fancy word for it is, but I call it a tricycle. Sure, you can't fall. 4,000 years ago, I'm not sure if there were water sports, if they had motorboats, ski boats, what he would go on. But maybe our patriarchs will also go on ski boats. But he loved the boating, he loved the outdoors, everything connected with the outdoors. This Tuesday, last Tuesday and Wednesday, yesterday and the day before, was a big Hasidic holiday. It's called Yad Ayutes Kislev. Parts of our prayers that are not said on a holiday are not said in those 2 days. What happened that made it a Hasidic holiday? It was the first Rebbe of Chabad. His name was Zalman, Shneur Zalman, was put in prison. And 53 days later, he was let out of jail. He was put in prison not for doing a crime. He lived in Russia, and he was collecting money and sending money for the poor Jewish families in Palestine. And it was made-up charges. In those days, Palestine was under Turkish rule, and since it was under Turkish rule, and Turkey was fighting with Russia, and it was accused of aiding and abetting an enemy. Of course, it wasn't true. But after 53 days, he was let out of jail. But in the 53 days, they realized this is not an ordinary prisoner. The chief, one of the generals, came to visit him. And he knew the whole Bible, this general, even though he wasn't Jewish. And he asked him a question. If God knows everything, we all know the story of Adam. He ate from the forbidden fruit. Well, what did God ask Adam? Where are you? If God knows everything, how could God ask him, where are you? It doesn't make sense. So, Zalman answered. It says, God is asking every single one of us, and every day, where are we? Ayeka, where are we standing today? He said, a man that is 56 years old, the general was 56 years old then, God is asking you, where are you? And that's a lesson from all of us. We always have to ask ourselves, how many good deeds do we do? How many mitzvahs that we do? Where is our bank account going in good deeds? And that's what God is asking us always. And that's one of the things we can learn from Bob of all the great things that he did in his life. His bank account for good deeds is full now. Shneur Zalman was let out of jail 53 days later on this Tuesday and Wednesday, the day that our Zalman, our Bob, passed away. And that same day, another Zalman was born. That was my grandson was born, a local grandson was born, and the bris took place right after the time that he passed away. The another Zalman take his place is in the world right now. Around 2 years ago, I get a call. I came close to Gayla and Peter, Dr. Peter. They invited me into their home to visit their dear father. And those visits came, weekly visits, and the friendship grew. And Bob did the garden with Gayla, even though he couldn't walk so good, but he did the garden together. and we made an exchange. Every week I brought them a challah, and every week I got some herbs, different tomatoes, different plants, different zucchinis from the garden that Bob and Gayla planted together. That was very nice. So I want to thank you so much for all the work you both did and the rest of the family did to ease the pain of Bob, make him feel like a mensch the last few years of his life. Around 10 days ago on a Sunday, I came by, and he always waited for me in his chair, waiting. If I didn't come, I came a little late, I got a call from Gayla. Where are you already? My father wants to say prayers already. We can't wait so long, you know? And she was very good about it, kept me on my feet. I went out of town for a few days. She texted me, is everything okay with you? And she wanted to be part of this great deed. We put in film, and we said the Shema, we sang traditional songs, Vaden Alam, we sing Oiseh Shalom, and he really enjoyed it. And but before that, I wanted to mention, nobody mentioned here, Bob liked Florida and was planning to go to Florida. And Gail and Peter, well, Florida's hard for them, you know. It was hard to have to bring all the his stuff, medical stuff with him, and it was hard to set up a new house with everything else they needed. But Gail said, if my dad wants to go, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to go and schlep my husband to Florida and be with him. That's to make him happy. And the whole family, I take the thank you for it. But that's like 2-3 weeks ago. Actually, end of November, I said goodbye. You can go to Florida. But a few days later, unfortunately, the trip was canceled. Bob had better places to go. So I want to end off by saying, for his family and his friends, the legacy should keep going. You should go from strength to strength. All the good deeds that Bob did in his whole life, all the mitzvahs that he did, we'll keep it up. All the prayers that he did, and the love and the smile. It says the smile is like 1,000 words, and make people happy. To serve God with happiness is very, very special. Let's hope we'll merit. We'll see him again with the coming Mashiach Tzidkeinu, speeding our days. Amen.
At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember him. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember him. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember him. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember him. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember him. When we have joy and crave to share, the joy we crave to share, we remember him. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember him. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. As long as we live, he too will live, for he is now a part of us as we remember him. Salman ben Hanach ve'Esther, who seems to be a bridge between Chabad and conservative Judaism and Christianity and Baptist and all this. Being a bridge is also a mitzvah, bringing people together. And Rabbi, I'm so happy to hear that your grandson's name is Zalman. And it just seems so perfect. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, 1,000 years in your sight are as a passing day, an hour of night. The generations come and go while you endure forever. We are always in your hand, Adonai, in death as in life. Help us who mourn the loss of Robert Shuman, Bob, Bobby, Zalman ben Henoch Esther, to look beyond this moment, to realize that death cannot destroy the bonds of your everlasting love. Sustain us with the knowledge afforded by faith that you will not allow us to suffer oblivion. For you, Eternal One, have taught us the way of life. Through you we gain eternity. And let us say, Amen. Following our service here, we will continue to the Temple Bethel Memorial Park for interment. Following interment, we come back here and do what Jews do when we're sad and when we're happy. We eat. Which is really an affirmation of life. But as we eat, we'll tell stories and remind one another of different times. And at some point during lunch, or just as it's over, we'll also gather together for mincha minyan. And so that will happen organically when it happens. Shiva will continue or the family will continue to see people on Saturday night at 55 Birchwood Drive. The hours are 6 to 8 with Mariv at 6 o'clock, and the same is true on Saturday night and on Sunday night. Also, the family has suggested that should you wish to make a donation in Bob's memory, that you consider the American Cancer Society or Hospice of Southern Maine. And the addresses are, and telephone numbers are in the obituary, but also we have them here. Our community extends our deepest sympathy to family, whether they're in that place called Florida or Maine or wherever else you all are. We send our love to all of you, to all of his friends and acquaintances. Temple Bethel is always here, and you are all welcome anytime. So we extend our condolences, and as Rabbi said earlier, we wish there was another 5 years, and then at the end of that 5 years, we would wish for another 5 years, and then at the end of that, and that's the good news. That's the good news. Good people are hard to lose, but we honor them, and they teach us so much so that we can keep their spirit in with us. So I want to conclude by inviting you to rise as I recite the memorial prayer, and we will follow the family out of our sanctuary back to our cars to go to the memorial park. I invite you to rise. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Ashchina, B'malot Kedoshim Utorim, Kezohar Rakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Zalman ben Henoch Esther, Shehalach Lolamo, Began Eden Tehei Menuchato, Ana Bal Rachamim, Hasirehu B'seter Knafecha Lolamim, Utzror B'tzror HaChayim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'yanuach B'shalom Al Mishkavo, V'nomar Amen. El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Zalman ben Henoch Esther, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that he find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.